somebody came in and they said, I can't feel anything. I don't know what's going on. I'm just here for you to tell me what's going on. And I was like, oh, yes. I honestly didn't go at it like judgmentally. I was like, what is it? What is it? What's the key? And it didn't come in right away. It was a few hours later. My guide said, embodiment. Remind them that one of the reasons that they have a block to their third eye, to all their clairsenses, is because they are resisting full embodiment and they are disassociating. Welcome to Activations with JJ, November 2023 monthly energy update. I'm excited to dive into several energetic themes that will be coming up this month, so let's get going. Happy November, my friends. Hello, hello, and welcome to this month's energy update. I'm excited to have you join us, and whether you are new or you have been around for a while, just want to give you a very, very warm welcome to this little corner of podcasting of YouTube. I'm kind of on a few different places depending on where you're listening, but so thrilled to be able to co-create with you here through the podcast today. It is fun when I tune in because I can actually, as I record, feel and sense those of you who will be listening in the future. There's no such thing as time, right? And when we become multidimensional, we are able to sort of transcend the idea of linear time and tune into those kinds of things, which is cool. It actually makes it a lot easier for me to bring through these messages because it personalizes it. I feel like I can almost see your faces and see you listening in your cars and in your homes and wherever you are. So I am here presenting these beautiful themes for November 2023. As always, I give a disclaimer whenever I do my monthly energy updates. It is super important for you as you receive these themes to not only discern what is best for you to tune into this month, but also go inward personally and decide what themes are coming forward in your life, in your individual life, because you have your own unique channel and your own unique team of light that will help you determine what to focus on for you this month. That being said, I have a fun little kind of way of presenting the themes, but I have to tell you a little secret. I can't remember if I've ever said this before, but it's going on like 5 months now, so I thought I would share this little thing with you. Every single month when I sit down to record the monthly energy update, I typically will record it once, and then when I'm done and I've fully recorded it, I actually feel like it's a rough draft. I throw it out, I delete it, and then I record it all over again. So I guess it's a process of refinement, you could say. I take a lot of care. I want to make it very efficient. I want the information to come through in a way that isn't overwhelming. That's why you notice my podcasts are not actually very long. And I do that intentionally. But there are so many stories that have come forward related to the themes for this month. And the funny thing is that like a bunch of the situations came in between the time that I recorded the first one and the time that I recorded this final version. So my guides were like, oh, by the way, since you're tuning into the monthly themes, we're going to send you a bunch of confirmation and validation, which felt really, really good. But here's how I'm going to lay them out for you, okay? I want you to see the monthly themes like a sandwich. And so what you're going to notice is there are the 2 slices of bread, one on top, one on the bottom. There's an umbrella overlighting theme, and then there's an underlying theme. And then there are 3 themes that make up the contents of the sandwich in between the bread. And that, I hope, helps you organize what I'm going to tell you. And it was really specific how all of it came through. So the overarching umbrella theme is back to the basics, okay? Back to the basics, super important for us. It's kind of tied to last month. And if you haven't listened to last month, October 2023, and by the way, there's no such thing as time. You can be listening to this like in 2025 and it could still apply to you. But the October theme was one theme, first of all, and it was you. So that was very, very basic. And I feel like this is just kind of piggybacking on that same theme just taking things back to the basics. It's so important to revisit the foundational principles for our spiritual growth, because this can really lead to that deeper self-awareness. Now, there are a few components to that. That's kind of the middle parts of the sandwich, but simplicity. My husband always likes to use the framework of KISS. Keep it simple, sweetie, is what I say. I don't say stupid. Some of you might know that little acronym, but it's an important thing to remember, because what I've noticed by and large when people come into sessions or gatherings, I feel like sometimes there's programming in the spiritual community that causes us to overcomplicate, which leads to a couple things: over-analysis and overwhelm. So if you feel like you're in that boat sometimes when you're presented with information, whether you're looking at something on the internet, listening to a YouTube video, scrolling through Instagram, just take a step back and remember some of these basic things, okay? This podcast, these themes, are not only for those of you who are just beginning, because this is going to be pretty apparent for those of you who are at the beginning stages of your spiritual awakening. You're going to be like, yeah, I'm at the basics. I never went to the complicated parts. I'm still here. But guess what? Even if you're really far along, years and years into this, it's still an invitation to pull back to those basics. So the first piece, the first little element in this sandwich is developing your intuition, developing those psychic senses, your clairs. It's so important to be able to tune into your own personal inner wisdom as you move forward on these journeys. And this theme is so connected to personal empowerment, which is vital to our shifting into the new earth. A huge thing being released, especially during this time of eclipse. Oh my goodness, this whole eclipse season was whoa. That's all I can say. Whoa. And it's funny because I was on all my journeys during part of it, and it didn't really hit me until I got home. It was right before the partial lunar eclipse when I got home. And one day a wave washed over. You know what? I just rode the wave. I was like, I'm just going to cry. I'm just going to sit here and let it come. And things were coming at me from all different directions, just like weird, crazy circumstances. And I was like, what is going on? And it's eclipse. It's eclipse. So I hope all of you did well through that. I did publish that podcast episode that was only on my YouTube channel, by the way, and it was an eclipse activation. Make sure you go back and listen, even though it's after the eclipse, because it was a really cool, like, subliminal messaging thing that I've never done before. But anyhow, back to developing your intuition, just a huge piece of all of this. And it's always important to reset and recenter. Some of the ways that you can tune into your intuition, if you feel like things are a little jumbled right now, is just to go back to simple yes or no questions. If you have listened to me for a while in some of my Ascension diaries, I talk about how I learned how to channel. And it started with body dowsing through a modality called the body code. And it was literally part of this modality was to ask yes or no questions to the body. Now, speaking of the body, that is a huge piece of developing your intuition. And what I have noticed when people come in to do one-on-one sessions with me, it's interesting to hear them explain maybe their frustration and their blocks to hearing, seeing, sensing. Clairvoyance is always a big one. I don't know who, is talking to me. I can't tell what's going on. I try to ask questions. I can't feel it. And I was really pondering this the other day. And it was funny because remember I told you that before, when I published my rough draft of the podcast, I had all these confirmations. I actually had a session literally minutes after I recorded that first podcast episode version. Somebody came in and they said, I can't feel anything. I don't know what's going on. I'm just here for you to tell me what's going on. And I was like, oh, yes. And I honestly didn't go at it like judgmentally. I was like, what is it? What is it? What's the key? And it was a few hours later, didn't come in right away. My guide said, embodiment. remind them that one of the reasons that they have a block to their third eye, to all their clairsenses, is because they are resisting full embodiment and they are disassociating. So I want you to think about that this month as you're going back to the basics and tuning into your intuition. A really incredible offering that sort of sparked this whole conversation and this whole idea of back to the basics is one that my friend Monica of Healing with Monica, she is doing an intuition academy. And I sent her a little message the other day and I said, I love what you're doing with the Intuition Academy. We talked about it 4 or 5 months ago. And I said to her, I said, so many people are coming and they just need that basic stuff. And she says, yes, I agree. And she's so incredible with her intuition. And so she's presenting this Intuition Academy. And I actually have a little perk for those of you who are interested in taking this journey with her this month, which is a hybrid group and individual sessions. But anyone who signs up for her Intuition Academy will get my psychic activation course for free. So if you sign up for her Intuition Academy through the link below, you will get all of her offering with that, as well as my psychic activation course, which is super complimentary to that, totally designed to continue to support you with that. So I just want to drop that in. All right, sandwich component number 2. All right, for those of you who are not meat eaters, it would not be turkey, but my favorite is avocado, so that's what I'm going to call this one. This one is stemming out of an offering that came into my awareness. Sometimes as I sit down to consider what I would like to offer to the collective to help them on their spiritual journey, it's connected to a theme for the month. And this offering has come forward over the last few months. It just keeps coming back and keeps coming back. When I do one-on-one sessions and people come forward, and this is very similar to the intuition thing, and I ask them a little bit about who their guides are. Who do you work with? Who do you feel coming into your field? And a lot of people are not super aware of who that is. And I was in the same boat, 100%. Now, there are always people who feel more connected to their higher self and that level of awareness, and they don't necessarily feel a need to identify individual guides. But a lot of us enjoy connecting with those individual guides. And so what came in was strengthening our connection with our spirit guides. Now, whether or not they are fully into your conscious awareness, they're there. This is your team of light. And I told you again that there were so many confirmations that came in for me after I recorded that first version. And do you want to know what the confirmation for this one was? Of course, there are so many people out there wanting to meet their spirit guides. You can look that up on Google and find a bazillion offerings. Mine is a little different, a little unique. As always, it incorporates light language, and it is very comparable to the 21 days of abundance, activating abundance. But this one is 11 days, and it's called Meet Your Spirit Guides. And it's a light language activation every day, and there's a journal that goes with it where you are going to tune into your guides and really bring forward these beings. Now, here's the interesting thing. Just today, right before I recorded this, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw the Energetic Alchemist. Some of you might follow her. She posted something about new spirit guides. And I was like, oh, that's why this is coming forward. So this is not just about connecting with your team of light. It might be about connecting with new guides. If for those of you who already know who your team of light is, you might have new guides stepping through. Now, this came forward 6 or 7 months ago. I was reading, it was one of Sal Rochelle's books. I can't remember which one right now. And I talk about this in a podcast episode. I'll try to find it and put it in the link to the podcast here, to the show notes down below. But Sal Rochelle said, there might be times where it is in alignment to call in new spirit guides and to release the old ones. So in my personal opinion, that's what this offering and that's what this theme is about. It's about, yes, if you don't know who your spirit guides are, connecting with them for the first time. If it is that you've already met your spirit guides and you know who your team is and it's solid, guess what? You've got new spirit guides coming through. Another confirmation was the angelic activation gathering we did at the very end of October 2023. And for those of you who attended, you know what happened. We called in a whole new team of angelic beings that had not been present on the planet before. We connected with new versions of the archangels because we are shifting from warrior angels duality to unity consciousness. A new frequency of angelic guides is required. So that was a really, really cool experience as they dropped in and told us that information that's super connected to this theme. Okay, my friends, before we drop into that third part of the sandwich, I just want to remind you we have a very special date coming up, a very intense and powerful portal, like the 11/11, one of my favorite times of year. It's fun because this year I not only decided to offer a group activation, which is something I traditionally do, but I am also sending out a call to any and all light workers to join me in Sedona, Arizona, live for 2 events. First in the morning, we are doing a Gridwork excursion, very similar to what I did in England, and we will be hiking around Thunder Mountain and Chimney Rock. And who knows what's going to drop in, because for our events in the UK, I simply channeled and were guided by all different kinds of beings, particularly the Star Mothers. It was definitely an adventure, but was super powerful. In addition to that, in the afternoon, we will be going to a really beautiful venue called Sedona. And what we'll be doing there is a special group live activation in person, and our virtual friends will be joining us. So I don't know if Sedona has been calling to you, but for some reason, my guide said, listen, put out a call. Don't pass up this opportunity to gather starseeds and do this grid work together, because as always, we are stronger together than we are by ourselves. And we can even accomplish more 5D grid work in a group setting. So those are 2 events you do not want to miss out on. If you can join us in person, that would be amazing. But if you can't, guess what? You are invited to join us from wherever you will be in the world as we live stream from Sedona, Arizona. And I guarantee you, it doesn't matter if you're joining us virtually, the energies will be felt and it will be an incredible experience. All right, we're going to transition now into that third part of the sandwich. Make it a tomato, an onion, whatever it is you want it to be. And this one is something that came through last week in my Ascension message, the end of October. If you did listen to my Ascension message, this is not going to be a surprise to you, but my guide said, state it again, it needs to be in the monthly energy update. And that is developing the ability to self-heal. Another way to put it might be remembering that you have the ability to self-heal. Now, I know that that can seem daunting, and because of the trajectory of the collective over these last several thousands of years, we've really depended on external sources to heal us. We haven't been fully empowered most of the time. That's the general current. Now, some of you out there might totally have this down. I know there are a lot of you who are healers, who are training people to self-heal in what you do, and you've been guided to shift what you do into helping people. In fact, that's what I mentioned last week. Is one of my friends, Teresa Sachet, has a modality that she calls co-healing, and the sessions are co-healing sessions because she, as a mentor, is showing you how to support your body and make space for your body to heal. So it's a really important thing as we go back to the basics and call back in our power to understand how self-healing works. Now, it's easier said than done. I am the first one to let you know that. I mean, there are times when I've got something going on with my body and I'm like, oh, and I make a phone call to my friends, and that's okay. It's okay. There's a bridge. We're way showers. You know, we might not have it down pat, but we're making steps towards it. We're showing the way. Even if we attempt to do self-healing 50% of the time where we would normally reach out 100% of the time, we're making that change. And we're retraining all that programming that says to go outside ourselves when we need something to shift in our bodies. Now, let me tell you a little story. Last night, So just right before I told you this, so many things dropped in. I was going to bed and I was feeling off. And I feel like it has to do with the eclipse. My body was just feeling off. I was really tired. I know a lot of you are going through a lot of exhaustion. And I have had definitely experiences where I feel like I've been able to strengthen my body. But that last night I was like, ugh. And I was thinking about recording this podcast. I was like, okay, I got to practice what I preach. How do I do this? And all of a sudden, in my mind's eye, one of my soul aspects popped in. And this is my Arcturian soul aspect. They were me and I was them, and I was fully merged. And this is because I have integrated this particular soul aspect. And as a side note, that's why soul integration is so dang important. You'll see after I tell this story. And this aspect of me said, I've got this. I know how to do this. And so I stepped aside. And this Arcturian aspect of myself, who already has fully developed the ability to self-heal, just started going to town. And I didn't reach outside myself because this was part of me. This is why we're needing to realize our multidimensionality. Now, as a side note, I know some of you are going to be like, oh, I really wanted to do multidimensional soul integration. It already started. Okay, guess what? Because this dropped in, I've extended the enrollment. We already had our first gathering. It was incredible, but you can listen to the playback and you can step into this course. You can step into this experience. And there's so much more about multidimensional soul integration and why it's such a big benefit right now than just the self-healing. But this in and of itself, if you are integrating soul aspects that know how to self-heal, keep it simple, sweetie. This is the most efficient way to do it. We don't need to overcomplicate it. The person we are, the human aspect we are today, just goes, oh, I'm going to step aside and let this other part step right in. And of course, as you're witnessing it happening, will you absolutely activate the ability in all aspects of yourself to do it? Yes. Yes, you will. And then it'll just become easy peasy. So that's the idea, right? Work smarter, not harder. That is, by the way, the Arcturians theme. If any of you have ever worked with the Arcturians, they're like, oh, there's no such thing as time and space. We can get this done in like 2 seconds flat. They're fast. They are so fast. So that's one thing I love about this concept of self-healing is that we can call in those aspects of ourselves who already know how to do it. So just kind of let that digest. Take a deep breath now. We're done with all the contents of the sandwich. You're doing amazing. All we need to do is add the piece of bread at the bottom. But take a deep breath. Ooh. Today. Okay, are you ready? What is the foundational piece of the November themes? What is it? What is so important that we needed the slice of bread on top, back to the basics, and the slice of bread on the bottom? Now again, this was confirmed to me in a session just yesterday. And the theme is one word, and that word is trust. Trust. It is so important for us to release any and all programming that is causing us to doubt ourselves. It is time for you to release self-doubt and release the need for external validation. It is time for you to stop discounting those little impressions that you get and to allow yourself to fully embrace the beautiful, divine, inspired child of creation that you are. That's why you came here. You came to model for the rest of the collective that it is safe to trust our gut instincts, to trust what our heart is telling us. We don't need anyone outside of us to confirm it. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't occasionally want that. And that's okay. But it has to start with that number one piece, that number one concept of self-trust. And one of the most incredible things that dropped in was a guided meditation, message, and light language transmission from Sanat Kumara, which is all centered around releasing programs of unworthiness and self-doubt and reactivating the ability to trust yourself. And that particular guided meditation will be coming out in just a couple of days. I'm going to give you time to digest this. So if you are not already on YouTube and haven't rang the bell so you get notified when I publish something, do that. So then you'll know right away, because Sanat Kumara is one of the most incredible teachers that I have ever had the privilege of channeling. They are a multidimensional ascended master embodying unity consciousness, feminine, masculine. Now we see Sanat Kumara one way, we've been taught, but the way that they come through for me is just this very expanded, enlightened being who is so tender and so compassionate and delivers information in a way that is so soft and so gentle that every time they come through, I feel zero resistance from the person who I'm channeling for and from myself. It just comes with ease. So I'm excited for you to have the opportunity to listen to that message when it comes out in a couple of days. But until then, again, I want to allow you time to digest all of this. Let's review our sandwich. Number one, that first piece of bread is back to the basics. Back to the basics. And the three little inside pieces are really reactivating your personal intuition, remembering it, developing it, leaning into it. Number two, seeking deeper connection with your guides. And that might include calling in new guides. With love and gratitude, releasing the previous guides who were for a previous age, a previous timeline, and calling in new guides for this new phase of your soul evolution. And then that last middle part of the sandwich is remembering how to self-heal. Allowing yourself to really fully tune in to that ability and releasing a lot of programming in the process. And then, of course, that foundational piece, trust, self-trust, trust. I hope that some of these themes are resonating with you and that they can make a difference, that they can make things easier. Because over and over again in my sessions, in my gatherings, our guides are encouraging us to release any and all programs of struggle and strife and sacrifice and fully surrender to ease and grace on this beautiful ascension journey. Now, before I let you go, I do want to take a quick moment and share with you a few of the offerings I have coming forward. November's pretty light. I have my regular gatherings. You can sign up for my all access pass if you would like to be part of that. I also have a beautiful offering called Divine Awakening that starts mid-November, where we will access the energies of Hathor, Green Tara, and Goddess Isis, and really remember our soul purpose. This goes completely in hand with the themes for November. My friend Anna and I are just coming together to channel all of these transmissions. It's 2 separate transmissions, 2 separate dates. You can attend live, you can listen to the playbacks, and there are some different activations you'll have access to in between in the course portal. So you could call it like a mini course or a workshop. It's a really digestible but very expansive offering. In addition to that, I'm so excited because I will be co-creating again with my sister, Marissa of Starseed. We came together for the Manhattan workshop, and now she's in my neck of the woods. She's in LA. We have a beautiful workshop that we will be co-creating. We'll be doing more grid work, connecting with the star mothers, the earth ancestors, and I would love to see as many of you who are in LA, or maybe you're just in LA at that time. We would love to be with you and to co-create with you. And the energy, I can't even put words to what came through last time. I know that those of you who were there know what I'm talking about. So this will most likely be a virtual offering too. So kind of take a look at the links below if you are interested. All right, my friends, again, thank you so much for being willing to co-create, for stepping into this space, into this container to make it all the more expansive. I am sending you so much love and reminding you that I am you and you are me and we are we. Until next time.